Hey, do you like X-Men? Of course you like X-Men. They're the biggest thing in the world right now, especially with X-Men 97 right there. Which you know, about damn time. After a solid decade of rights issues and creatively bankrupt decisions, the X-Men are finally on the rise again. The next movie is in the works, the comics are consistently under top creative teams, and X-Men 97 is the biggest critical hit for Marvel since No Way Home. With more seasons on the way, I might add. So I think it's safe to say, we're back, bros! The X-Men are here to stay, better than ever before. And in this new wave of X-Men media, we're getting something a little different. Okay, more than just a little. Ultimate X-Men is the most un-X-Men book I have ever read. It's also the most X-Men thing imaginable. Confused? Don't be. You're too pretty to have that dumbfounded look on your face. Now go read this book so I can give you a good old one right on the lips. Why? Because of course I'm going into spoilers, you silly Billy. There's only like 3 issues worth of comics to talk about at the time of writing this. Maybe 4 if I can't get my ADHD under control and finish the script in a timely manner. But you know, my lack of self-control is aside the point. A team of superpowered heroes are born with their abilities, brought together by a weird bald guy to save the world and the racists who hate them. Because of love and junk and peace and whatever. It's a long tale of outsiders fighting for the right to exist and holds many parallels to today's social movements. Intentionally so, as writers have found their footing in the unrelenting progressive nature of the X-Men, and how they can use that to mirror other minority groups of today. Pair this deeply political messaging with iconic characters, soap opera drama, and whatever the hell it is Wolverine has going on a Tuesday, and you have some of the most engaging stories comics have to offer. And also the most convoluted, messy, weird, and sometimes just plain bad stories as well. Yeah, it ain't all sunshine and rainbows. Going on as long as these comics have, you're bound to have more than a few stinkers along with the golden apples. This is why, every now and then, Marvel likes to take the idea of the X-Men and other characters and do a little experimenting. To my knowledge, the first big push of this kind was in the early 90s with X-Men 2099, a comic series I have not read. I should fix that someday. Anyway, it seems interesting enough. Aside from all that, not much to say until I read it myself. It doesn't seem to have been a big hit for Marvel at the time, which is to be expected. Out of all the 2099 characters, the only one with real lasting impact is Spider-Man 2099. As seen by being the only 2099 character to ever be seen in a TV show, or a movie, or video games. God, so many video games. Poor X-Men 2099 though. Rest in peace. Fortunately, Marvel's next step into this kind of thing would be way more successful. Ultimate X-Men! The first one. Joined with other titles like Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Fantastic Four, and The Ultimates, X-Men fits right at home among the deeply political and nihilistic world of 1610. And this time, I have read it! Volume 1, though, because, yeah, this book wasn't for me. Now I'm sure to many people watching this, the origins of the original Ultimate Universe aren't a mystery. Marvel wanted new modern stories that weren't hindered by decades of history, and so they took their biggest characters and built a new world with them. And unlike X-Men 2099, Ultimate X-Men was a pretty big success, lasting from 2001 to 2009 before being picked back up in 2011 for a short run through 2013. That's over a decade of Ultimate X-Men, so while these stories aren't for me, they clearly had an audience that enjoyed these books. And for a time, I thought the same would be said for Peach Momoko's Ultimate X-Men. Marvel's latest big relaunch, taking the Ultimate label and applying it to a whole new world with a whole different story. To recap, this dude, the maker, he's a guy from the old dead Ultimate Universe. Actually, he's that universe's Mr. Fantastic, but now evil. A lot of plot, a lot of war. Go find a YouTube video about it. Or read the books, whatever you want. I ain't your mama. So the maker, bad dude, walks into the nice new little universe that's oh so similar to 616 and screws it up entirely. With a fancy-dancy time machine, he completely changes the course of the world's history to his liking. A new Ultimate Universe for himself. Until Iron Dad and Iron Lad say, hey, that ain't cool! And now that's the general plot of the Ultimate Universe. The basis for the new Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Black Panther, and Ultimate books coming out. but not Ultimate X-Men. At least, not as far as these last few issues have shown. So far, this book has nothing to do with the rest of the Ultimate Universe, aside from like one little connection. I still remember the day all the Ultimate titles were revealed at San Diego Comic-Con. There was this huge trailer showing off all the covers of the books, with Marvel revealing a ton of information about each one. Of course, Ultimate Spider-Man is what held my eye the most, as it did with everyone else in the world. But to the side, I was enamored with Ultimate X-Men as well. Peach Momoko is an extremely talented artist that I followed on Twitter for a good while. Even a bit before I found her on Twitter, since she does cover art for just so many books, including Power Rangers! So when I saw her work in the trailers for Ultimate X-Men, I went bananas. Like, I instinctively knew that we were going to get an X-book like no other that's ever been done. Like if someone with Junji Ito's eye for horror and layout decided to write an X-Men story in a style reminiscent of Mob Psycho 100. This was going to be something truly special. I just wasn't ready for how special. Time went on, and eventually, after Spider-Man and Black Panther were out for the world to see, Ultimate X-Men came to the comic stands. I, being a mostly digital reader by necessity, snagged issue 1 the moment I could. Immediately, the book lets you know what it's about. This is Hisako, Armor, as she's more well known in the comic community, a young teenage girl in what was this world's version of Japan. She's the weird kid, the outcast of her class, made apparent at her graduation, and she's majorly depressed, for very valid reasons. Her best friend was a tragic victim of bullying, and feeling responsible, she's emotionally shut herself off from the world. This leads us to today, where now she has to stop a malevolent third party from taking vengeance on the many bullies of her deceased friend, all the while gaining unknown superpowers and a group of friends to help her. This story is very much a horror mystery, with the idea of mutants not mentioned until the 3rd issue in the most casual way possible. But, we're skipping ahead a bit. When this first issue dropped, and I read it, I was mostly on board. It was clear Peach Momoko had a vision, and I was interested in seeing where it'd go. Until issue 2, where the nagging voice of doubt slithered into my brain. I love Momoko's work on these issues, and I am invested, but is it really the direction I want X-Men to go in for the new Ultimate Universe? Don't get me wrong, Momoko is doing a fantastic job as writer and artist, but this is Ultimate X-Men, a whole new series for one of Marvel's most iconic teams, and is going to shape who and what the X-Men are in this universe going forward. As much as I like what's going on, I couldn't truly imagine the characters and story in this book standing side by side with the others. Among its peers, Ultimate X-Men is a black sheep. And I will say, in the long term, I have no idea. As we go on, crossovers are eventually going to happen between these series. How it happens, how it'll look, I don't know. I can't say. Though it's definitely going to be weird seeing these kids next to the Ultimates and Spider-Man in art styles that aren't Peach Momoko's. What led me to think all of this is in issue 2. It's an escalation of what we saw in issue 1, with the Malevolent Shadow being more actively aggressive in his pursuit against Hisako. She also meets a new girl named May who, is a bit popular these days. Probably the biggest name to come out of this book so far. And one I was honestly shocked to see, because she didn't start life in Ultimate X-Men. She actually started life as a variant cover. A long while ago, Marvel introduced the character of Spider-Boy, a secret sidekick of Spider-Man whose entire life was wiped away, including people's memories of him. He's a weird character. Not one I'm interested in following, but not one I hate either. He's just kind of there with his own solo run. Anyway, why that's important is because this kid got popular. Fast. And as such, Marvel decided to have some fun with the concept. For a whole month, every book Marvel was releasing would have a new Champions variant cover, where artists would take the title character and try to imagine what a sidekick for those characters would look like. A few of these are duds, but the rest are actually amazing. Like, who thought of turning Hatsune Miku into a Ghost Rider on roller skates, and why aren't they a real thing in the comics yet? Marvel, please! And here's May, or Maystorm, who'd be the secret sidekick of Storm. And honestly, I like her a ton. Even before her introduction in the story, I enjoy her punk rock design. As for her part in the story, she's cool. May serves as a counterbalance to Hisako's more subdued and calm personality. She's immediately outgoing, friendly, and notably weird all the same. They bond, May shows off what she can do, and they end the issue by becoming classmates. Overall, a very pleasing number 2 for the book. But it didn't feel like X-Men to me. More importantly, it didn't feel like what I would want the X-Men to be in this new universe. Because to me, the idea of a Ultimate Universe is a fresh starting point for readers. A way for audiences to experience these stories and characters without having to jump into decades of continuity. Of course, things would be different, just like Ultimate Spider-Man, where Peter is a grown-ass man with kids before becoming Spider-Man. There's a ton of differences, and yet, there's more than enough there that's still fundamentally Spider-Man. And the same is true for Black Panther and the Ultimates, leaving Ultimate X-Men to be the black sheep once again, because in these first 2 issues, there's nothing familiar to latch onto. No icons of the franchise to recognize and pog at, yet. And 0 mentions of mutants. Nothing about what they are, what they deal with, or how they fit into the world at large. It's just Hisako and the story at hand, which in hindsight is a good thing. It's a great thing. My biggest issue with modern comics is that they always feel like they're in a rush, especially new titles. So seeing Peach Momoko take it slow and pace out her story to what she thinks is best has been very cathartic. A realization I had in issue 3. The issue where I realized that, yes, this is what the X-Men need to be in the Ultimate Universe. Okay, maybe not need to be, but like, come on. It's awesome. This chapter is, obviously, another great one. This time we focus on May and her backstory, while still being fed some clues about the greater plot and how she ties into it. You see, May comes from a bit of a rough family. Her mom is alright, but her dad is an absolute piece of garbage that sleeps around while physically and verbally abusing May. Said abuse led to her unlocking her powers. It's some powerful stuff that my brief summation does no justice. To feel the full impact, I can't stress enough how you need to read it for yourselves. As the issue ends, we're back in the present with Hisako and May, and it's with Nico that we get the very first mention of mutants in this series, right before the issue ends. And it all clicked at once. All this time, all my anxieties and doubts about the series, it was about the surface level things. The old Xavier School of the Gifted, the classic team of heroes in spandex, their world-saving adventures. But as I finished the issue and looked at the cover for issue 4, I realized that what I wanted isn't what makes the X-Men X-Men. At least not at their core. Don't misunderstand, those aspects are still important to the X-Men we know, to the Marvel Universe we grew up with and love. And they always will be! But at the core of the franchise, what really sets it apart is the outcast and the family they make. Hisako and May are far from normal girls. Power aside, they're deeply hurt and traumatized in their own ways. This pain and fear have driven them away from the normal people. They no longer feel like they can connect or heal when around those who mock them for their pain. Then they found each other, kindred souls who are connected by trauma. And now, with their powers, they feel even more connected. They found people who understand, and they're about to find even more people to connect with. What Peach Momoko is doing is building that family of outcasts. She is bringing together these kids who have suffered so that they can help each other and make the world a better place. Now tell me, doesn't that sound like the most X-Men thing ever? Also, Rogue is here. And that girl is Cyclops. So yeah! So, is Ultimate X-Men what I would have made? No, it really isn't. But that's kind of the point, isn't it? This isn't my story. This isn't Marvel's story. This is Peach Momoko's story, and I think she's doing an amazing job. She has my full support, and after this video, I hope you understand why. Maybe you'll even show her the same support. But you know, we'll just have to wait and see. Until then, true believers! That was a horrible Stan Lee impression. I should probably never do that again.